Basically, when I started out as a little kid playing flamenco guitar at my home, that went on for many years. I started when I was 7, and then when I was 12, uh, the older brother of a friend of mine, he gave us a cassette, and on that cassette, on one side was Ride the Lightning, and on the other side was Kill 'Em All, two great albums by Metallica. So that was the first sound of heavy metal music that I was exposed to, and I listened to it for the first time. It was such an impact. I loved the sound. It had something very raw, very powerful. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I grew up listening to flamenco music, to Middle Eastern music, South American folklore, classical music. So the rock and all that, and the metal that wasn't part of the hard rock, wasn't part of the music I would listen at home. Coming from a South American and Middle Eastern background, the music and the culture was so different at home. So that music impacted me very strongly, and I started to invest my time into finding more out and finding more about this music style. And I was trying to kind of imitate the sound of these guitarists with my acoustic guitar, but it wasn't sounding the same. And I would put very thin plastic sheets and layers into the strings and try to make them buzz, but they didn't sound like that. So I said there must be something else. And then one day I saw on a cover of a magazine, I saw guys with long hair and very cool looking guitars. And I said, well, these guitars, these are the ones that produce that sound. These were the electric guitars. So the next step was I need to find an electric guitar. So I would go to the shops in my hometown in Freiburg, Germany, and I would go there and I would just sit there for hours in the afternoon and grab a guitar and just try to figure out and play those ones. And I would plug them into amps and just go crazy and just play. I was a little kid who was just having fun. And I would do that many days, many weeks. And sometimes it would kick me out. It would say, okay, hey man, it's enough. Just go home, leave the store. Because I would, use the time to practice because I didn't have an electric guitar. So one day, a friend of ours, of my family and me, he had a secondhand guitar, and he said, I'm going to sell it to you if you want it. And it was a Phoenix guitar by Young Chung from South Korea, and so that was 400 Deutschmarks back in the days, and I bought it. And then I said, wow, that's an electric guitar, but I still needed an amp. So with a little help of my parents and some money that I had saved, I went into the shop where I always would go, and I bought an amp. And so I bought there my first Hughes and Kettner combo, and that was very important. So from that moment on, I was able to play the repertoire and try to, by ear, to listen to the riffs and figure out. And then later on, when I was watching the MTV channels, and the shows like Headbangers Ball, and you had the video clips of the bands playing all the glam metal, the heavy metal, I could see where they would play and how they would do it, and I would try to imitate this. So that's how I was led into the world of guitar. So actually, electric guitar is the instrument that I chose for myself to start playing, because flamenco guitar and the oud, the Arabic oud, was by heritage from my family. But then my kind of personal interest and also evolved into playing electric guitar. And that's basically why nowadays I have many electric guitars, and I've been playing electric guitar since I was a little teenager. Well, along the way and along my path and the career, I had the opportunity to buy different electric guitars by different brands, either because my idols would play the brand. There's a guitarist I always refer to, John Hayes from Mother's Finest. By the way, that's the T-shirt, and he influenced me a lot. And the first time I saw the band Mother's Finest, and he was playing with the band already, late '80s, early '90s. He used to play Jackson guitar, so I had Jackson guitar. I bought a Jackson guitar, and then I also bought some other guitars. And over the years I gathered, a Gibson. I gathered some Fender, and so on, a Carvin, and some guitars were gifted to me. Some others I bought. So I ended up playing these guitars in live performances with different bands and projects. And I never really thought of getting an endorsement, someone to sponsor me. I was never thinking about it because I said, if I have an endorsement, then I cannot play all my other guitars that I like, that I chose different guitars for different sounds and different songs, different repertoires. So I never thought about it. I said, it's just not my thing. And then some years back, I thought, what if there was a brand that I really would be attached to? And I thought it should be something emotional. I didn't want just something for the sake of someone loaning me guitars or giving me guitars for tours. Or it was more out of the idea of what was the sound that when I was young had influenced me in my upbringing and in the way I understand rock, heavy metal, and all that music. And I said, man, in the 80s and 90s, that was, especially the 80s, that was, Cinderella. They played, the guitarist was playing Kramer. Eddie Van Halen played Kramer. He made the brand to become like the guitar brand of the 80s. And so many others did. And so I said, Kramer, what happened to Kramer? Where's Kramer? Because Kramer had disappeared many years back. And then I found out that Gibson had been owning the brand afterwards. So I said, how can I get in touch? I didn't know anyone of Gibson or Kramer. And my dear friend, Danny Gomez from Madrid, is a great guitarist and also a great professional within the guitar world, And we had met at the NAMM show 2019 in Anaheim. So, and I called him. I said, do you know anyone who has a contact or a connection so I can get an email or someone I can talk to within Kramer or Gibson? And he said, I know the artist relation manager of Gibson in Madrid, and you talk to her. And back then it was Raquel, and I called her and she's like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah, let's do some collaborations with Kramer. We'll just send you a model and you can make some videos and you play with it. And eventually, if you have tours, you can go on tour with it. So that was my way of starting to connect with the brand. And, it wasn't only about them handing me guitars and loaning them for tours and eventually every now and then get a new guitar so I can follow up and do videos for the social media. But I also wanted my own little Kramer collection. And I came across the Kramer Barretta Specials, which is a guitar model that is based on the iconic Barretta from the 80s. And the great thing is that I started to modify all these guitars. And they're absolutely not expensive guitars. So I said, just get each color and you modify it. So I changed pickups, I changed the locking tuners, I changed the bridges. I use now the Vega Trem, the VT1 Ultra, which is great. I also, have the endorsement with Vega Trem. So it made sense to use these guitars as project guitars and just modify them and build my own perfect guitar that I would use. And I've been using these guitars now for, I started with collaborating with Kramer something like 4 to 5 years ago. And since then I've been playing these, especially also with the World of Hans Zimmer tour. And these are instruments that I just like. They're just fit nicely into my body and my hands. And but that's the fun thing is that the purpose of having an endorsement was connecting with a brand that I could establish a relationship first, and it takes time. You just establish relationships and you're willing to give back, and to just create content and you just enjoy the instrument, and so I think we're at the good moment now. We've been talking about getting some models for this year so I can promote them and I can create videos, and then I will be also taking some of these newer models for the upcoming World of Hans Zimmer tour, October, November 2026 and spring 27. So it's a great moment, and sometimes you wouldn't believe how the path is, how the path is building, some, secretly and silently. You don't know what's happening. There was this connection back in the day, and then I don't know how many decades later, you have this connection and you're playing these guitars. Let me show you one of the guitars. I chose this Beretta in ruby red because I wanted like a lipstick kind of flashy color, because I like flashy colors also for the stage. I like the image of it. I like the visual part of guitars as well. They can be pretty simple, That's what I like about the Berettas and the Kramers. Is one pickup, one volume. You have the bridge here, and it's a simple setup, but always the matching color of the headstock on the body, and I like that. And in this case, here, for example, I have Schaller locking tuners, which is absolutely great. They're solid. I love them. I upgraded it with Seymour Duncan pickup. This is a TB full shred trembucker. Really beautiful output, beautiful sound. I have a new volume potty and also a beautiful volume knob by Q Parts. They have these very nice like pearl inlay kind of things. And then the special thing about these guitars is they come with a Stratocaster style tremolo, but since I endorse also Vegatrem, the brand from Mallorca, and they did this innovation about a very smart and very clever and amazingly working tremolo, floating tremolo system, which you can fit into the guitar without modifying the guitar. So you don't need to cut anything out. You just swap the old one out and put the new one in. And the cool thing about this, you can go forward and you can go also back. So that's like a Floyd Rose idea, the Floyd Rose tremolo idea, where you can go back and forth, but without the locking nut, and it just fits into the cavity of the Kramer and of basically any Strat style body. So that's awesome. So, and I have strap locks by Schaller. So these guitars are really like very nice looking and sounding guitars. And as you can see, well, I have different colors because I just like colorful guitars, And at some point, I said, why don't take it a step further and create my own model? Like creating something that I would be connected to, something I like. And I thought, first, I need to do it myself. Just project the idea of creating your custom model. And I thought it to be a very fun project. And it all originates in that Kramer had sent me one of their 84 models, which was called the Illusionist. And it had an amazing painting, like a swirl, like many, many layers of swirl. And the guitar looked very psychedelic. You would look at it and it looked like it was moving. And I loved that guitar. I used it for a film festival in Tenerife with Juno Reactor. We performed some of the Matrix soundtrack back then with an orchestra, and we also did with Vince DiCola, the composer of Rocky and the Transformers. We did his music, and also Brad Fidel, who is also an amazing composer. He was the composer of Terminator. So that guitar, you can see it on YouTube somewhere. That guitar, I used it for that particular performance and concert, and it was great that I had it at the time that Kramer gave it to me. And then I started to look and try to find who is the guy who painted that amazing piece of art. And I found that it was an amazing and legendary artist, custom airbrush painter from Alabama, Bo Pittman. And I started, whenever I started to create content with this guitar, I would tag him or mention him because I thought it was really amazing, And a long time later, we get in touch, and I see that he also likes my posts, and here and there a comment. And then at some point, we connect and we start messaging. And he just reached out and said, "Hey man, I would love to paint a guitar for you." And I was like, "Wow, that's like a surprise, because I looked up to him, I still do. He's a great artist, He's been painting since he was a little boy, and it's like that's his passion. And he's just an amazing painter. And so it made sense because he had already painted for Kramer, and they had put out the series and that design, and you can find it on the website. It's The Illusionist. And then I said, it just makes sense that Bo Pittman paints again a Kramer, and this time, well, it's going to be a custom paint for me. So to make the story short, I created an idea that so that he had an idea where he could base his design on, then of course take it to wherever he wanted. But I had this idea about flames because I'm always attracted to flames. Flames are transformation, flames are purifying, flames are renewing, and there's many connotations to it also in different tribes around the world, and I thought it was a meaningful thing. And so I created this design where this guitar was covered in flames, and then I sent it to him. I said, this is an idea. You just take it wherever you needed to take it. And he said, I love the flames, And I told him, I also like the hot rodded cars, that typical American cars where they paint on the side the flames. They have this like metallic colors with the flames. And I love that. I love that. So I said, man, we're on the same page. And soon enough, he created a design. He sent me a picture. Said, I got it. This is the design. And so he did it. I was overwhelmed. I was like, man, that's not in my wildest dreams, right? And so I sent him a guitar, which was a guitar that looked like this. I got it through a dear friend of mine in America. We ordered it through Guitar Center and had it shipped directly to him. So I ordered an exact same guitar like this so that he could start painting it. And then he did. And after some time, I went on tour to the States. That was 2025 with the World of Hans Zimmer US tour. And I said, if we can meet and the guitar is ready by then, if there is a city near to where you live, we can meet and we can, make the connection happen. And so we did. He came out to St. Louis, and he drove all the way with his best buddy, and we meet in the afternoon before sound check, and to hand me over the guitar. And so he comes up and he brought this amazing instrument, and this is, so to say, the Fire and Flames guitar, hand painted by Mr. Bo Pittman, and is a cobalt darkish blue metallic. It has a lot of layers. It has a silver layer below, and then the whole technique to make it sparkle and metallic. And then it has, from what I understood, 13 layers of paint and the different nuances of the white, yellow, orange, dark orange, and black, and all these colors. So it really looks like the flames are dancing, and all those little sparks here. So it's just amazing what Bo did here. And of course the matching headstock. So we have the continuity from the body to the headstock. And he put the original 80s, the big logo of Kramer. Normally they have also a smaller logo, but this one is like the one of the, so to say, originals in the 80s that was typical. And I said, that's beautiful. And this is my Fire and Flames, my own custom model, so to say, that I created based on Barretta Special.